How's it going, wrestling fans? It's been a while, but we're back. The Wrestle Report, episode 15 with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
I'm Don.
It's been about a month. Really, after the Brody Lee episode, we kind of needed a little break. It wasn't really fun reviewing wrestling there for a little bit. That was about 2 weeks of it. The other 2 weeks was not being able to link up. But we're back, and we're going to see if we remember how to do this, I guess. The Royal Rumble was last night, which I think I did mention on the last show. The Royal Rumble is one of my favorite things in wrestling. Pretty good show. Hats off to him again. Starting at 7 o'clock is definitely the move. I mean, I was asleep by 11:15, and that is always the goal on these things. But before we even get to the Rumble itself, some decent matches. Only 5 matches on this show. That'll happen when you have 2 Royal Rumbles that are going to take up an hour apiece. But overall, for their first offering in 2021, pretty good show put on by WWE. What would you say?
Definitely, man. I enjoyed it. I was over there with you over there, and I had a fun time. It was a fun time, fun night.
I tend to have people over for most pay-per-views, but the Royal Rumble in particular, for the past several years, I like to have a get-together. I have a game that we've not perfected, but we've tweaked every couple of years, basically, and I did want to put this out before the Rumble, but remember this and use it next year. You get an old calendar from 2020, let's say, the year before, and you cut up the 30 squares, and you throw them all in a hat, and everyone that comes over gets 3 numbers, and whoever comes out at those numbers, those are their people to root for and root against and whatever. That's the genesis of it. There's more to it, which I guess next year I'll break it down in detail. But it's something we've done for a couple of years. It's even better now because we got 2 Royal Rumbles, so we do 2 sets of numbers and everything. Before we get to the Rumbles, though, first off, pre-show, Don, I think you were still on your way home. New women's tag team champions, Nyla Jax and Shayna Baszler win the titles back from Asuka and Charlotte. This is probably the right move because Charlotte and Asuka as a team never made sense in the first place. I was actually explaining to Jake as because he was there for the pre-show. I think the only reason they do this is now Charlotte has tag team champion on her resume, and now she never has to go in that division again. And when they look back on her career in 5 years, they want her to have held every belt, so they had to get this out of the way somewhere. But yeah, so new women's tag team champions, and then the real show starts. We start with the WWE Championship match. Drew McIntyre versus Bill Goldberg. And Don, you were pretty worried about this one. This was probably the only match you actually cared about who won or lost. So I'll let you take this one first.
Yeah, because I've heard like speculations that Goldberg was going to win, and I honestly don't need another Goldberg title reign. He needs to like me and you talked about. He needs to go against people people that doesn't have title belts. Just no stakes at it. It's just a fight. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I do not need to see him in a title feud at all.
Yeah, we did talk about that last night. The example I gave is like if at WrestleMania we had Goldberg versus Keith Lee for nothing but bragging rights, I'd be all for that. For it, just as an example, it doesn't have to be Lee, but somebody like him, I'd be all for that. It doesn't need to be for a title, like you said. Funny enough, this is the first time Goldberg was in a WWE Championship match because when he was at his peak in WWE in the early 2000s, that was the World Heavyweight title. And then obviously the more recent stuff is Universal. So it is funny when you look at it that way. It's his first time, for a WWE title match. And this was, it's listed here as 2.5 minute match. They'd had a lot of before the bell curriculars. So I'd probably put it more at a 5 to 6 minute match. And that's what you want from Goldberg, really. You knew it was going to be like playing 2K where everyone's just spamming your finishers and everything. They got you there for a minute. It looked like Goldberg was going to win with the jackhammer, and I think Donovan's heart skipped a beat. But after that, Drew comes back, gets the win after the Claymore. Goldberg shakes his hand and raises his hand and all that. I think they did do this because Goldberg got to have his run, and the rule in wrestling is you always put someone over on your way out. So if Goldberg was gonna you let me have my fun the past couple of years, now I have to at least put somebody over on my way out. If that was what this was at the end of the day, I'm kind of cool with that. I don't know if I wouldn't mind. I don't hate Goldberg on my TV necessarily. I just, like you said, hate him going for titles. So if you can give him someone like a Keith Lee or I don't know Braun Strowman, that might be a little tough because you don't really have a guy that can carry the match or whatever. But if you give me Goldberg versus just a guy that can that can work with him for 8 minutes at WrestleMania, maybe 6 to 8 minutes again. I'm cool with that. It just does, as we keep harping on, it doesn't need to be for a title.
No, it doesn't. I wouldn't even mind him going against Cena at WrestleMania. That would be pretty dope. Because Cena never faced Goldberg.
No, yeah, that could be pretty interesting actually. So there's really, when you take the belts off of it, we could both probably come up with 5 different names right now about who that would be interesting to see. It's just a matter of doing it right. And I think if in the very beginning of this, like when Goldberg fought Lesnar was it Survivor Series, when you beat him in the 2-3 minutes, people lost their shit. It's only when it came to the title did people not want to see Goldberg anymore. So if you gave him the Fiend when he wasn't the champion, I think people would have been cool with it too. So it's just, I think it's that simple. Just keep him away from the belt, and if you want to use him and you think he brings ratings, he'll do that for you without pissing off the other half of the fans, I guess. So it'd be interesting to see if this is Goldberg's last match or if we get him in a WrestleMania capacity. That remains to be seen.
Now I will say, damn, I lost my train of thought. I will say what killed him was when he beat Kevin Owens at Fastlane a couple years back. That's what killed it. And the only reason why they had him beat him was because they wanted Brock versus him.
Yeah.
So that really hurt Goldberg at the if you actually think about it. And then him beating the Fiend.
Yeah.
That killed it even more. He just dug himself another foot.
Yeah, people were pissed about the Kevin Owens thing, but people were really pissed about the Fiend thing, because at least Goldberg Owens thing was a spear and a jackhammer and it was over, but like he couldn't even do his finishing move correctly on the Fiend and still won. He basically beat him with a vertical suplex like he's Harley Race or something. And so that was, at the end of the day, what pissed him off. But again, I'm not someone that if you give him the right opponent at WrestleMania, or even, I don't know if they're doing Elimination Chamber or what they're doing in between.
They're doing actually Elimination Chamber and Fastlane.
Okay, so I mean, if he's on one of those, just in a match, like cool, like I'm good with that. Moving to the women's championship match between Sasha Banks and Carmella with Reginald, Donovan's doppelganger, in there. This was pretty good. I don't remember people have hated on Carmella in the past. I always liked her as a character. I think she's really coming along in the ring. That's easy to do when you're facing Sasha Banks, so I got to give her credit there too. But this was a nice, solid 10-minute match. Made both people look good. Got Carmella over as a heel. Reginald getting involved in everything, and then Banks with the retain. And I think this was a really good way to push them both. And you want someone like Sasha as your champ going into Mania, so I didn't think Carmella had any real chance of losing it necessarily. And we'll talk about later who I think Sasha's going to face at Mania if she doesn't lose it in these other 2 pay-per-views. But overall, this was a very good showing for the women's division and great for Banks to get the win.
Oh yeah, I was happy for this, man, because I love Sasha Banks.
Yeah,
Sasha Banks, she can't do nothing wrong for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Carmella. She is really coming along as a wrestler. She come in her own. I love for the character. And then Reginald is just icing on the cake. But I will say this: I would like to see her like be great by herself, because she's always had like the male superstar to help her. When they first came with Enzo and Cass, and then James Ellsworthy, and then R-Truth, and now Reginald. But I will say she is definitely improving in the ring though.
That's a good point. I think it's because she was still had a lot of room to improve, so they wanted to put her with someone that she could like bounce off of. And I think as she gets better, however and whenever this Reginald thing goes, I think she could stand on her own 2 feet after that. I think she's finally at that point. So I think that happened back then because she was still like great character, but still needed work in the ring. Maybe she's at the point now that that's not the case. So like, she's always, I forgot about a few of those. I forgot about Ellsworth there for a minute, and I almost forgot about R-Truth, but yeah, those are great points. And yeah, I think she'll get to a point where she can just stand on her own and just be like any other member of the roster. Part of that too is it does make her stand out. Like every person she's had that you mentioned, they're very flashy and memorable in themselves. We joked about it when we were watching the Rumble. because Reginald had the match with Sasha, and then he did some stuff here. I kind of want to see him get just in the ring as a wrestler, even if it's on like 205 or something, like just to see what he can do, because the guy can fly around the ring. So I wouldn't mind seeing more of him down the line.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I like the fact that he's bilingual, I guess. He can speak French and stuff. So I think that he could cut some pretty good promos too. I feel like.
Yeah, that's a good point. I need to look more into him. I assume he is an indie wrestler on some level before coming here. That or he's a gymnast or something. They must have pulled him from. But yeah, I need to do more research on him. But I would like to see him in NXT, like for the cruiserweight title type match and stuff, and just see down the line how that goes. Next up, we had the women's Royal Rumble match, ultimately won by Bianca Belair, and it's hard to really break down everything in this match, but what will make it stick out for me is these were some of the most brutal and original eliminations I've ever seen in a Rumble, men or women's. There was only about 4 to 5 people that were dumped out the normal way, just, grab you by your hair and your belt loop and dump you over. These were some, I'm trying to remember the one on, I forget her name, it's not Sonata, but it sounds like that. I forget her name.
Santana Garrett.
Yes, her elimination, she got like kicked in the shin or in her ankle, really, and it ended up in her a split, and then she got kicked in the face, and then people are getting dropped on the apron and everything, which, as we all know, is the hardest part of the ring.
Yeah, you know.
These were some of the the eliminations themselves in a bubble. Watching them back are brutal, and it's like, for people that don't watch wrestling a lot, you're like, yeah, I could see why they fell out of the ring after that. Like it was very believable spots that I enjoyed. Coming down to Charlotte, and then was it Belair and Rhea Ripley? We were all kind of in agreement. And I actually had Charlotte in our wrestling in our game that I explained earlier. I had the number that Charlotte came out as. But even due to that, I was definitely hoping for the other two, because we've seen Charlotte do it. There was a little rumble, no pun intended, of her being like, oh, the first to win 2 Rumbles in a row, well, 1 to win 2 in general, and then it'd be back to back. So they did talk that up to make it think that it was possible. But I would have been fine with Rhea too. But Bianca winning, I think, is a huge career star-making move, which is what the Royal Rumble was always intended to be. So I think this is a perfect move for her. This is the best. There's only been obviously a handful, but this is my favorite women's Rumble that they've ever had by far.
Yep, 100%. 100%.
Yeah,
it was great, and like you said, it was brutal, very, very brutal. That Dana Brooke one, oh my gosh! When Rhea power slammed her, spine dropped her on the apron, like you said, the hardest part of the ring, of the ring. That I was like, damn, that, oh my gosh, that had to hurt. And then I love the Bailey one when she slid slid from the bottom ring, and I guess suplex Liv.
She powerbombed her, yeah.
She powerbombed. That's right. Yeah, she powerbombed her. That was another smack.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, man, these girls are laying into it, and I thought, to be honest with you, bro, I like their Royal Rumble more than I like the men's Royal Rumble.
Definitely for this year. That's not always the case, but and we'll obviously get to the men's, and there's nothing wrong with the men's Rumble necessarily.
It was just the women's was just 10 times better.
This year it was way more entertaining, no doubt.
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
The other one I want to point out, it was a near elimination towards the end when Rhea Rhea and Belair both were kind of like hanging off the ring, and they both had to like, all right, quick truths, we're both going to get back in the ring here. Like, that was a very unique thing as well. And I liked the way the eliminations matter. They all seem to create other stories, like the people that eliminated, person A that eliminated person B, that's going to be mentioned again down the line, which is always good. There used to be a time when a WrestleMania match would spark from a guy eliminating another guy in a Royal Rumble. Like that was enough to start a story.
That was how the Roman and Undertaker.
Yeah,
when Undertaker
exactly.
was in that Royal Rumble, Roman threw Undertaker out.
Right. So, and then there's situations when you think of like Maven eliminating the Undertaker, and when Heath Slater got to eliminate Sheamus, and like a guy's moment can be just eliminating a much better, higher tier person from the Rumble. And I think we're getting to the point where it's gonna make stars again. For example, Bianca Belair, she was on that cusp, and this is something that she She would have got there without this, but I think this was a natural progression of things. And I guess the next question is, I think we agree on this, but I'll let you go first. Which title would you want her challenging for? She's a SmackDown wrestler right now, anyway, right? Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
I 100% believe that she should go against Sasha Banks at WrestleMania.
I agree. Granted, if she goes against Asuka, it's going to be a bad match.
Yeah, it's not going to. Yeah, but I think that her and Sasha will make more sense. I don't know if you watch tributes to the Truth.
A little bit, not the whole thing, but yeah.
She was actually tagged with Sasha.
Okay.
In that match, so I think it'll be pretty cool. I think both of them are great athletes, and I think both of them have a great match. And I'm hoping it's the main event for night 1 or night 2. I'm okay with night 2 though. It matters what they're gonna do with the men's.
I could see it. It does see where that happens. I could definitely see it being. I don't think it's gonna close the event, but you're right. Like a night 1 thing, I could totally see happening. It'd be a great, it's gonna be a great match if that's what we end up getting for sure. So as this Rumble went on to get back on that, we had a couple surprises, some faces we haven't seen in a while. We saw Victoria. We had Tori Wilson. We had Jillian Hall randomly. At least she didn't have the freaking thing on her face. It was great to see Tori Wilson, and it actually sparked a discussion amongst our party, where she was kind of from the generation where they didn't care if you could wrestle. They just cared if you were hot, basically. But Tori was someone that did get better over time in comparison to, like, I think the example I used was Stacy Keibler, which everybody loves and looks back on her fondly. But she kind of went to a point where she got phased into being a manager only because she never really did improve in the ring. And keep in mind, she did get in the business at like 19. So she's as veteran as any of the other girls. But Tori, I'm glad she got this spot because she's someone that in that dark era of female wrestling, that she was someone that you looked at and took it seriously and got better with every year that she was in it. So it was fun to see her. The positive of Vicky Guerrero being in AEW right now is she didn't have to take up a spot in this like she does most years. But it was fun to see some of the unfamiliar faces that we haven't seen in a couple years.
Oh yeah.
No Trish though. I figured that would be a shoo-in.
That's what I was thinking too. Just because I've always heard that she wanted to go against Sasha Banks in a match sometime this year. So I always thought that Sasha Banks was not even in there, but still I would have thought she would have been in there, or even Lita. But I was okay. I love Victoria. I love Victoria being there. Yeah. I feel like she's goated as a women wrestler. She was actually one of the actual good wrestlers back in that time.
Yeah.
I did pop when Peyton Royce did the Widow's Peak, and then Victoria did the Widow's Peak to her, and then the camera angle was perfect because the camera got Victoria's face when Peyton Royce was doing the Widow's Peak to I forgot who she was doing it to.
Right, but you kind of gave her the what are you doing there? Yeah.
What are you doing? You trying to take my finisher? So I popped inside for that right there.
And it was funny us being like camera guys. She has her up for the peak and the counters at like 1 or 2. And I'm like, hurry up and do it because they're gonna cut to the ramp. And I'm like, I don't want them to miss this, but she got it in, so it all worked out.
Yes, yeah. It was like at 2, she had her up. 1, she had it down,
and then it cut.
Really good. Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect, guys.
But she's a pro. She probably knew that. She could either see or hear the count and knew what was going on. So that's how it worked out. And like we've seen Lita make an appearance in this. We've seen Trish. It's always great to see them in these. But I'm okay with them taking a year off and letting some other people in, really. So I mean, maybe not even next year. Maybe the year after. The Mickie James too. I know she's kind of on the roster still. But she had a really good showing, I felt, in this too.
We also had a new 24/7 champion at one point.
We did. Alicia Fox, who's apparently a legend now because she showed up on Legends Night. She beat R-Truth for the title, and then she lost it back. And later in the night, Pete, was it Rosenberg? Is that how you say his name? Won the title from Truth, who actually still has it currently. So it might be. Luckily, they have a another pre-show type thing coming up soon, and obviously he'll lose it back. But that was funny to do the title change in the middle. I was thinking we would get something like that in the men's Rumble, but Truth wasn't in it, which we'll get to later. But no, the title switch with Alicia Fox was actually really funny in there.
Yeah, but like I always say though, man. Like I hate when they do that. They trying to bring 24/7 shenanigans into the women's matches. Like they did that last year, last year's Royal Rumble. They
Mm-hmm.
did the same exact thing, except no one rolled up Truth. And then one thing I will say that I did not like that we didn't get to see Raquel. Raquel wasn't in the match.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see Raquel Gonzalez be in there, or even Mercedes Martinez would have been in the match. That would have been pretty dope. Because you had Dakota Kai, you had Santana Garrett, you had Shotzi. No, I think that was it.
Yeah. Still, but at least some NXT, participants was in there. I think there's only, which we'll get to it. There's considerably less in the men's rumble, but there was some, which we'll get to though. So we'll go ahead and move. Actually, before the men's rumble, we had the last man standing match, Universal title match between Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. We were talking as the match was starting, and and we didn't want to be pompous about it, but the thing about last man standing matches is they almost always drag, and they almost always, by their very nature, half the time you're listening to a guy count to 10. So it was gonna be a slow paced match. That's not how this went at all. This might have been the best constructed, other than one thing, which wasn't really anybody's fault, which we'll get to it towards the end. This last man standing match was great. Between the fighting into the screens, which I don't think anyone's gotten to do yet, between the layers of screens, they fought out to a bunch of table spots. The thing that'll always be remembered from this is that golf cart spot where Kevin Owens just goes flying through it. The plexiglass even hits Roman. I think he busted his mouth open when he did. He must have bit his tongue or something. I don't know what he did. But the swanton off the table, just very memorable stuff in here. Real quick, better golf cart spot. You think it's Sammy Guevara's, or do you think it's this one?
They're both great.
Mm-hmm.
But I just like the Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens one a little bit more. It was great because for Sammy Guevara, because he actually played into it.
He sold it more.
He sold it a lot more. But I will say it backfired more on Roman Reigns than it did.
Yeah, that's true.
Kevin.
And
that plexiglass really hit him hard,
bro. The Kevin Owens Roman Reigns one was more realistic, I guess, because you see with Sammy Guevara, that he has to kind of turn and jump into and you can see Kevin Owens jump into the plexiglass too, but it was a more realistic, quick thing. You didn't, they didn't chase him down all the way.
He just Roman Reigns
came out of nowhere
on him.
Yeah, you didn't
even nowhere with a golf cart, bro.
But yeah, this match got really brutal. They fought all the way to they have a practice ring set up in the Thunderdome, which we didn't know until this match. So you really got to see the setup of the Thunderdome through this match, which was pretty cool. And then the only real negative was, first the praise is they had Roman handcuffed to a scaffolding, and the referee got to 9. And he grabbed the referee and threw him in, which was, oh my God, I popped so hard for that. Because again, that's something you do in the video game if you're about to get counted out. Let me just take out the ref real quick. The replacement ref comes in and they can't get him Paul Heyman can't get him undone from the handcuffs. And the referee kind of stops his count for a couple seconds, which a lot of people are harping on. But really what all they need to do is Roman ended up getting on his feet while still handcuffed. And Michael Cole explained the count is stopped because if he would have just done that a little sooner, then yeah, it sucks that it took him forever to get the handcuff off, but it wouldn't have been that awkward where the referee had to stop. But that is the only real negative of this match to me. And then I think they kind of rushed things after that because it took up time because he literally just ran over and choked him out. I think they might have had one other spot planned that they didn't get to do because it took so long to get him handcuffed. So I think it was kind of like a tripping into the finish line. But other than that, I mean, as far as last man standing matches go, apparently this was the 21st one for a championship in WWE history, which is a pretty interesting stat. But this one was very good. Definitely one of the top. If you can look past the little niche there at the end, everything else was really good in this.
Oh, 100%. I loved it. I loved every. Yeah, you were right though. I was over there and I told you, I was like, damn man, what's going on? It's taking so long. The ref stopped.
Mm-hmm.
The new ref stopped and everything. And you can see Kevin Owens. I guess Roman Reigns low blowed Kevin Owens.
Yeah,
that's why Kevin Owens was on the ground for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he just oversold the low blow,
Yeah.
so he gets some time to unhandcuff
Mm-hmm.
Roman. And like you said, I would have loved it for at least a little bit more before the guillotine.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just basically got out, fixing with his hand, and then going straight into the guillotine.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit more. We need a little bit more.
The
But
one
I
thing
do understand.
the one thing I thought too is like the one referee is at 9 and then the backup referee comes in. All he has to do is count 10. Like he
10.
knows what the count's at before he runs out there, I would imagine, but obviously the pageantry of it and all. So like not a huge nitpick, but like technically he was in his rights to just go 10 and be done. So he didn't do that, but that's understandable. Great match. I don't think we ever really thought Kevin Owens was going to win going in until that where he was handcuffed. I'm like, what is he going to do? Is he going to he can't go anywhere. Like I didn't think about taking out the ref, which was the whole point, obviously. So that was really well done. But yeah, overall, we probably knew Roman was they want Roman as champion. Same with Drew, at WrestleMania when we finally have people again, because they have carried this company through the fanless era that we've had here. And if nothing else, they deserve to walk into WrestleMania as champion. They might not both walk out. More on that later, but I think, in my opinion, they deserve to be champions going into WrestleMania with the 22,000 people they'll get to have.
Yeah.
So coming up on the main event, the men's Royal Rumble match, just under an hour. Edge and Orton starts the thing off. Like you said, there was nothing wrong inherently with this match, right? It's your paint by numbers Royal Rumble with the great story of Edge coming in at number 1 and winning the Royal Rumble. Couple things that confuse me here is Randy Orton had the knee injury, quote unquote, and pulled out. I'm glad they didn't do that with Edge because that would have cheapened the fact that he was in at 1 and won the whole thing. But why do that at all with Orton? Like he's in probably the best shape of his life. He's not someone that needed the break of being in the back for 30 minutes of this match.
Yeah.
And he comes out, RKO's him, and then he just gets flipped right out. So the whole plan backfired in the first place, which I guess was the goal. But I'm trying to think some of the other great things. Seeing the Hurricane was cool, although he was in there, not as long as you would have thought. Jeff Hardy was out really quick. I thought they were going to keep him in there a little bit longer. The other guys that you thought had a chance to win were AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. Both were telling the story that they've done everything in WWE except win a Royal Rumble. So going into it, I thought it was going to be one of those two guys. Edge winning, while great, is a little bit of a surprise to me. I did not know. I guess this means he's ready to just be another normal man on the roster, because if he was just going to be a wrestle 5-6 times a year, he's not really a title picture guy. But now he's gets a match at WrestleMania. And before we talk about who we think that should be, do you have any other thoughts on the men's Rumble?
Oh man, come on now! We can't leave it out without having talking about Christian, man.
Oh yeah, you're right. I did forget that.
Captain Charisma coming in there, man. I was like, oh man, is he just gonna come in and just probably drag people out and not punch or take a bump or anything? And he was actually taking bumps. Oh, that stem cell, man. That stem cell something serious. So now it was great because we had Christian in the ring, we had Edge in the ring, and we had Daniel Bryan in the ring at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
3 guys that their careers, they thought their careers were over, and they're all in the ring at one time. I love that.
That's a great point. I almost wish we would have got a quick moment of them kind of just yeah, we're here, we're back. We wouldn't have thought. Yeah. Edge is getting, the world title shot, but if Christian's back for good, I want one more run with them as champs. I don't care, Raw, SmackDown, whatever the case. At the moment, SmackDown would be, they could beat Roode, but I don't think it's happening anytime soon. But beating Roode and Ziggler would make more sense than trying to beat the Hurt Business. But I hope if they're going to be back for let's even call it a year, right? They want to end on their terms and only go one more year. I hope they get a run at it. But it was great to see Christian really in great shape. And I did forget too, freaking Carlito came out and he looks
jacked,
as great as he has ever looked. What is he putting in those apples is what I want to know. There is rumors that that we're recording this on Monday before Raw, that at some point he's getting a tryout, which who he is. So I think it's more of just interviewing him more and what they want to do with him. And because from what I heard back in the day, the only thing that kept Carlito from being a bigger star was he had a kind of a piss poor attitude. So maybe, you know, he's more mature now when they can do more. Look at MVP. I mean, MVP was gone for so many years, and now he comes back and he's in as prominent of a role as anything. And I'd love to see Carlito in the U.S. or Intercontinental title pictures moving forward. That's a great get to boost that mid card to see him back like that.
Yeah, 100%. I was thinking, was he going to spit in the face of someone?
But yeah, I can't do that in COVID.
COVID, man, can't do that.
And then, because who was it? Shinsuke, I think, grabbed the apple from him. Yeah. And I'm like, well, he can't bite into it because he wears a mouth guard. So where are they going with this? And then he just like threw it away. But no, overall, pretty good stuff here. Like I said, a couple guys, like someone like Jeff Hardy. I understand the Hurricane not lasting long, but Jeff Hardy wasn't in a little short. Big E getting eliminated by AJ. What's AJ Styles' dude's name again? Omos. That was like him just getting dumped out by Omos. I mean, that's got to lead to something, right? I mean, you can't just. Big E was easily a top 5 pick to win this. For like people are really getting behind him even more than other times. But yeah, that's got to lead to something. He did to a few other people. I didn't mind the other people. I don't remember who they are right now. But when it happened with Big E. Yeah. Oh, that was my other thing that bugged me. Dominic Mysterio was in this match, which was great to see. And he got dumped out before his dad ever got in. And I'm like, you couldn't have worked that in a little better where they can double 619, Corbin or somebody and give us that moment. And then, then one of them can get dumped out or whatever. That's really my only other big nitpick, I think.
Yeah, Dominic got his ass thrown out, bro.
Yeah, he did.
He literally got airtime and hit that ground hard. Mm-hmm. I would say my nitpick. I have a couple.
Okay, hit me.
One of them was the one with the Big E because I was like, damn man, like really, like if that's the if anyone could do that, then why didn't like Ali come out with Retribution?
Yeah, it's a good point.
So like, okay, so boom, that was my number one. That was one of them. The second one was why the hell would Matt Riddle go over the top rope by himself to go like I guess to dump? He dumped someone out. I forgot who he dumped out.
No, he was trying to get to Seth Rollins, and then he curb stomped him on the apron. Yeah. But yeah, he hopped over the top rope to get to him. Like you could have done that any other way, and you would have been fine. So yeah, that was very dumb of him.
Yes. I just really wanted either Daniel Bryan, even Cesaro. I'm not upset about the pick, but I would have loved for someone else that one.
Yeah,
I love Edge to the point that I'm cool with it, but it would have been cool. It would have been even better if anyone else was the one.
I mean, it does sound like I was saying, like Edge is back, like for good. So it's not like another part-timer winning. Yeah. So that part I'm cool with. I don't know where I see him going. Like, is Drew and Edge the match, or is it? For some reason, to me, Reigns and Edge is the better match. But I don't know that either is like a great matchup for Edge.
True. I was thinking, I was saying I'd rather him go against Roman.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like they can have a better program. Mm-hmm. And how you can even throw Christian in with the program because Roman got Jey Uso.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. So like you can have these tag team matches to lead up to WrestleMania. And of course you don't have either one of them taking the pin. Like Roman could pin Edge or not Edge, but Christian and Christian or Edge could pin Jay,
Right? Yeah.
I'm cool with that. I'll be definitely 100% cool with that. Or even have Edge or Christian versus Roman, for a SmackDown.
Or even one of the at Fastlane or something on the lead up.
Yeah. And that could be the slow build that you could get for that match. And also you could use it as the Battle of the Spears, like how they did with Goldberg.
Yeah, no, you sold me on it. I do think that's the better build-up. There's more components that can be used, especially with Christian being back. So, that being said, I don't know what's next for Drew. I think we'll learn in the next couple months, so it's not even worth speculating about right now. But another big news, we haven't gotten a report on this. We were talking about WrestleMania just now. WrestleMania will be at Raymond James Field in Tampa, the same site as Super Bowl 55. That's this coming weekend. And 22,000 people will be admitted, which is about a little under a third of the capacity of the arena, but that's 22,000 times more than the people they have now. So one, that's great news. It is a 2-night event, so more people will have the opportunity to go. I don't know if they're selling tickets for one night or separately, or do you got to buy the package? I mean, it is in Tampa. We should maybe look into this. I'm sure the tickets are a little pricey, and they're not even out for sale yet. So I mean, you never know. We might be on here talking about going to WrestleMania, but that we don't know that for sure right now because the tickets might go, so we don't know. But 22,000, which is fantastic. 2-night event again. Last year made perfect sense. And they've kind of announced, so it's going to be in Tampa this year. Was it Texas the year after, and California the year after that? So by then, hopefully, California finally opens up. But in the meantime, doing Florida and Texas is smart because you can have people in events there right now. I don't think next year though is going to be this is the only other 2-day one, right? They're going back to the 1-day format.
They're going to go back to one day next year.
It was a nice change, but to me, WrestleMania is a 1-night thing. Like I agree. It's cool that they're doing the 2 nights for now. Because with the limited people, that makes me think you can buy tickets separately. Because like if you can only go to the 1 day and 22,000 can go, that means 44,000 people potentially see the show because some people go 1 day and not the other. But overall, I am happy as long as it doesn't go back to the 8-hour marathon that it was. I think WrestleMania should be 1 day, but it's nice right now. You can do 2 3.5 hour events, and then you don't feel like you're watching a marathon when you're trying to watch it, let alone go to it. Like when we went to 33, from 5 o'clock was the cruiserweight match in the pre-show, and then Undertaker and Roman ended at like midnight. So like that's a long day. That's a work shift right there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking too, because I was like, man, I do like the 2 nights just because of the fact that you can split it up and there's less time because just like that time when I went to your house for WrestleMania a couple years ago.
Yeah.
The last 1 night one.
Yeah.
I ended up getting back home.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ended up getting back home at like 12:30, 1 o'clock. So I left during a match at that, and I'm literally on 95 watching a match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My car ended up breaking down, and then I went to my house and finally was able to watch the rest of the match.
Oh shit!
Yeah. The Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky match.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So at the end of the day, that ended up at 1:30 ish. That's a long day of wrestling.
Big time.
So I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it being 2 nights, but if they're gonna have it 1 night, at least cut it down. 5 hours is long enough.
Really 5, and that should be counting the pre-show, but they won't. Yeah. That'll be 5 with a pre-show. So really that's 6, but you don't have to watch the pre-show unless you put the Andre Battle Royal on the pre-show, because God damn it, I love my Battle Royals, so you're gonna make me watch that too. So we'll see. We didn't have one obviously last year for obvious reasons. There was no people. I would imagine we're gonna have one this year on one of the nights. So look forward to that for sure. Other big news that I wanted to bring up before we wrap up. Oh, well, actually, before I even get to that, overall, great show for the Royal Rumble, really setting us up for the road to WrestleMania, as they like to say. A lot of sign pointing there at the end between, the winners, Bianca. I think in the next couple days, we'll obviously learn who they're going to. They might drag it out a week or two because they like to do that, but we'll know maybe by the next episode who they're actually going to face, and we can comment more on that. But overall, great show, and what should be one of the last Thunderdome era big events, because once you have people at Mania, I can't imagine Vince is going to go back to no fans. So I don't know, are they going to travel from baseball stadium to baseball stadium so they can have people and it can be outside, maybe something to that effect, or open up some of Tropicana to be to have fans? That they might have to reorganize how they're doing, but it'll be interesting to see. But I can't imagine he's going to let in 22,000 people for 2 nights in a row and then go back to the Thunderdome style. So it'll be interesting to see that for sure.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if they had it at the CWC thing. So you can have people there. For where NXT is at, you can have people there, and you can have the Thunderdome. So the screens also as still, so you can still have that as well. So I wouldn't mind either or. But because baseball season is about to start right after WrestleMania, baseball season's already started.
Right.
And unless they go to football stadiums, that's all they have left
Yeah,
at the
that's
end of
true.
the day.
They might even have to look into some college football stadiums because they're going to be absent until about August or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting if they have to go that route, and we might learn more about that as things get closer. I'm curious if Elimination Chamber and not Roadblock, is that it?
Excellent.
Fastlane, excuse me, is like if they tinker with some stuff for those, because it seems odd to do an Elimination Chamber in front of nobody. Like that seems like another event that needs people. But I would have said that about the Rumble, and here we are. So really, the other thing they're doing is with the Super Bowl being this week, they're letting them be the guinea pigs for the amount of people, which I get, and that way they can go to Mania and say, look, the NFL did this. There's no reason we can't do this also. So it definitely makes sense to do it their way. Speaking of WrestleMania, it will be one of the last, if not the last, show that we see in the current WWE Network format, because the news broke a little, I think, late last week that I forget the exact month, but they'll be merging with the NBC streaming app Peacock. It'll become a segment of that. Which, what does that mean for us? It means instead of paying $9.99 for the WWE Network, you'll pay $4.99 for the ads version of Peacock. So it could potentially be cheaper for you and you get more content. And I think it's like $11.99 for the ads free one. And Donovan, I know you don't fucking know ads, so you'll be getting that one.
Oh yeah.
But what is this? Clearly, this is a big fat check for WWE, and they are now at the point where they're making money every year without selling a ticket, which is a dream, a fever dream for Vince McMahon. Now it does not matter how their audience is; it almost doesn't even matter how their ratings are. It's they're getting money between the Fox deal, the USA deal feels prehistoric now due to what Fox is given, and now what this NBC thing is. And whenever the rumors come up about Vince actually selling WWE, NBC is usually on that short list. So I don't know if this is the first step into 10 years down the line when Vince is no longer with us, although I'm not fully convinced that McMahon can be killed. But if this does happen down the line, maybe it becomes an NBC property, which, as they're big commodity in the sports world now. They have some college basketball. They're big in NHL. I think they would love to, bring this in. That's speculating a little bit, but what do you think about this Peacock deal? Kind of came out of nowhere from where we sit.
Yeah, well, I've heard rumbles that they're gonna have that they was looking for buyers for the WWE Network, but I always thought it was gonna go to ESPN. I would have thought ESPN or Disney before Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. I like it. I mean, it's cool. Now I can watch The Office and WWE. I can watch the 2001 Royal Rumble, and I could be like, let's watch The Office. Boom, boom.
Yeah, there you go. My one thing, which nobody else seems concerned about this, so they must be, with it being an NBC now property for this, I was worried they were going to maybe censor some of the more graphic, like maybe ECW stuff, but I imagine they'll just put up a, warning when that stuff gets played. So it's probably not that big a deal, but more info will come out.
They already have a warning, like on all that older stuff already.
Yeah, so I think we'll be safe there. So that was my only, when I first heard about that was my only real concern, I guess. Last thing I wanted to get to, we're a little late to the party on this, but recently, about 2 weeks ago now, we watched on Hulu the You Can't Kill David Arquette documentary. And I remember seeing the trailer for this and being really excited for it because Ready to Rumble, I was one of the people that actually enjoyed Ready to Rumble when I was a kid. I had the VHS and I watched it so much that the tape burned up and I had to find the DVD down, later in life. But this story, I don't know when it officially came out, but I eventually realized it was on Hulu and we watched it recently. And if you haven't seen it, I just wanted to give a quick recommendation of the story that he's telling about, wrestling fans hating him for winning the WCW title. When at the end of the day, if you're a fan and you were backstage and somebody said, "Hey, we want to run this angle where you win the world title," you're either going to take it or you're lying to me, because any wrestling fan would want to do that. And it's almost to the point where his criticism that he's been getting is not really warranted, and he's decided to take it all the way down. He starts on backyard wrestling and he works his way through indie events and stuff and goes to Mexico, goes to a bunch of other places, and his story of redemption, of just wanting to be considered one of the boys. That's his only goal. He's not trying to be world champion again, but he wants to be considered. He wants to do right by wrestling is the words he used. And like, I never had a negative view of David Arquette in the first place, but it's definitely improved watching this thing. What do you think?
Oh yeah, man. He gained my respect because I'm not gonna lie to you. I hated that whole move back in the day when he won the heavyweight title.
Yeah.
And I knew he got some backlash, and I felt like that's what really killed WCW back in the time because it's like this guy just basically got his first match was a title match and he won. Yeah, it was shenanigans, but still he won. Y'all put the title on him. So the it was nice to actually watch like his struggle after like everyone's taking like he can't really get a gig for movies and stuff because they think of him as a joke and I like the fact that it was a lot of emotions in that movie. I told you earlier like I thought it was an actual movie. Like I didn't think this was actually like actual events that was going on.
Right.
So I actually like I'll go back and I'll look it up and I'll see, oh snap, he really did go against Mr.
Kennedy. Yeah, which was he was kind of the final boss in this movie where he would face Mr. Kennedy at this fairly big indie event, and then in the post credits, I hope he stuck around for that. He was actually really good friends with the late great actor Luke Perry, of course, Jungle Boy's father, and the post credit scene is him wrestling Jungle Boy about a couple weeks after Luke Perry passed away in almost a tribute match. And that was even better of an ending. The fact that, they got to do that together and so many crazy stuff. The Mexico part, I don't want to give too much away to people, but a good 20, 30 minutes of it is he's in Mexico and he's learning Lucha Libre and he learns some other shit too. And it's really funny. The one thing that got me, like early on, he literally just goes to a backyard wrestling like thing. I don't know how this guy got a hold of him, but he, basically drives out to the middle of nowhere and does this, backyard wrestling thing. And this documentary has been many years in the making. I think when this part happened, I was still backyard wrestling. And if I knew all I had to do was call David Arquette and he would come wrestle in our Fed, I would have done it. So I was a little pissed about that. I'm like, man, I didn't know that was an option back then. But yeah, everything from backyard to big indies. He does a lot of death matches, which to me, that's counterintuitive if he really wants to do right by wrestling. By the end of it, he's doing regular matches, but some of those were brutal. The death matches, not really death, but the hardcore matches, the light tubes, the tables, everything else, thumbtacks and everything. That part was a bit much because again, that kind of goes against what he's trying to accomplish, in my opinion. But overall, you Can't Kill David Arquette. It's on Hulu. It might be on like Amazon Prime and stuff too, but I watched it on Hulu. It's about an hour, maybe a little over an hour. Definitely check it out. If you're like me and you never hated David Arquette anyway, check it out because you'll enjoy it. But if you're like Don that, felt the way most people did where, he was kind of a reason for the devil, I think it'll change your opinion on David Arquette. So definitely give it a watch when you get a chance. Aside from that, that's going to pretty much wrap us up for today. AEW Beach Break is on Wednesday. I think next week's episode is going to be a lot about that. A lot of great matches on there. But overall, Royal Rumble, great stuff. The road to WrestleMania, we're officially on it. Thank you guys for listening to the Wrestle Report episode 15, and we'll see you next week. We're back.